How's it going here, Junkyard Genius? And I'm just in the process. I made the other short previously before this. I want to address a comment saying where someone said if you want to test whether or not the alternator is good or bad, just disconnect your grounds, disconnect the batteries from the whole system, and run the truck straight off the alternator. While if you do not have a multimeter, right, I understand this is an absolute great test, right? If it's the only test you can do, it's a great test. However, if I had when I disconnected the batteries from this truck previously, and the truck still ran, it makes you think, oh, well, the tests came back and the alternator is good. However, ever since I changed this alternator, the truck runs great, right? The truck was running extremely rough, extremely poor. Sometimes it would randomly die. Changing this alternator fixed that problem, but you're probably thinking, well, it didn't die without the batteries, right? So why is that? Because that's not necessarily the modern or proper way to test alternators, right? The real and proper way to test an alternator is that you really need to test it several times. You need to learn how to use a multimeter and an equivalent amp clamp to go with your multimeter. Or get a full system analyzer. Whether it be from Autel. Autel makes, from what I hear, a really good one. And I'm probably going to end up purchasing one because it's going to make my life a lot easier. What you really want to do is test from ground to this and see what voltage is putting out. This would have also tricked me because it started off at 12 on first startup, but then it eats its way up to 14. So I was like, well, it is technically running decent. I did not, however, perform a diode test. These have a tendency to leak internally. The diodes internally do tend to leak. If you do not know how to check diodes, Mechanic Mindset has a really good video on multimeters and how to use them to diagnose alternator diodes. The next thing you also want to check is the amperage, both when it's not under load and both when it's under load, because it might not be putting out enough amperage while it's putting out enough volts to run your truck and all of your accessories. It might not have enough to run everything, right? It might be causing it to run extremely rough. There's a lot of things to check. There's a lot of things to consider. Your brushes internally might be stripped out. The pulley might be bad, right? There's a lot of things to check. The bearings inside the alternator could be shot, and you might hear that, but it might be putting out enough volts. So just because it's a test does not mean it's